Hey guys, welcome back to Craig's YouTube channel, the channel where I review horror movies and I do top 10 lists and pretty much anything to do with horror. So if that's your cup of tea, then please hit that subscribe button right now for all future updates. So last night I ended up watching the new Candyman film. Now I actually completely forgot that there was a new Candyman movie and it was in the cinema only last year, and it wasn't until when I saw the movie on my Skybox where I was like, oh yeah, there's a new Candyman film, so I shoved it on straight away. Now before I delve in, I just want to put it out there that I had never seen the trailer for this Candyman movie, so I was going into this movie completely blind, and to be honest, I thought this movie was a Candyman remake. However, I was pleasantly surprised that this movie is basically a sequel, which I was kind of a little bit confused about this, because I know there was like a Candyman 2 and I think a Candyman 3 even back in the 90s or maybe the early noughties, can't really remember, but I don't think I watched them. Actually, I think I did see Candyman 2, but I remember absolutely nothing from that movie, so it couldn't have made that much of an impact on me. Anyway, Candyman 2021, it is a direct sequel from the 1992 movie, which I was really happy about because I'm not a massive fan of horror remakes. Now, what I really did enjoy about this sequel that's set years and years later is that everything that happened in the original Candyman is now the urban legend that the new people talk about in this movie. They talk about what the Helen character apparently did in the 1992 Candyman, which I thought was really cool, and I thought it was actually a good direction that the movie took. So we follow a guy named Anthony who learns about the story of Candyman, which sends him on a little bit of a creepy journey that ends up creating a brand new Candyman generation. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, there were moments in this movie that confused the hell out of me. Now, I don't know whether that's because I've not seen the 1992 Candyman for a very long time, but I do remember moments from that original movie, but not everything. But yeah, there were definitely moments in this movie that made me feel like I should have gone back and rewatched the original before watching this. But like I said, I literally thought it was a remake and not a sequel. But even though there were moments where I was a little bit confused, it didn't stop me from enjoying the movie. So let's talk about some of the kills. There were some moments in the movie where I kind of wanted to see more in terms of the kills. There was a scene in the girls' toilet where a group of girls end up summoning Candyman in the mirror, and of course they all end up getting murdered. But we don't get to see much of it. We only really got to see it through like a reflection of like a little mirror on the floor. I mean, it wasn't a bad scene, but I kind of just wish that we got to see a little bit more at that stage in the movie. I think the goriest kill scene was in the art museum with characters Clive and Jerica, I believe their names were. They were about to have sex in front of the art mirror that Anthony had created, and the girl, she ended up saying Candyman's name 5 times, and then Candyman rips open Jerica's throat right in front of Clive. Now, this was actually a really cool scene and probably my favourite death scene in the whole movie. Now, there were silly, goofy moments where Clive is saying, "Is this real? Is this real?" while Jerica's throat is ripped open, and to be honest, I was kind of happy for Clive to die. Clive was a jerk, so I was quite happy to see him die. Now, the effects in this movie were really cool, and I even liked the music that they used. It had a lot of atmosphere, much like the original Candyman. But what about Candyman himself? Was he scary? Well, in my opinion, yes, he was. He was very creepy. He kind of gave me Pennywise the Clown vibes in certain scenes. However, the original Candyman, played by Tony Todd, definitely has a much more scarier, deeper voice. But kudos to this new Candyman. He was genuinely terrifying in certain parts of the movie. Now, I think the most disturbing part of the movie, for me personally, was towards the end when Anthony was literally turned into Candyman, and he had his hands chopped off, and then he had the hook placed in, and it was pretty gruesome and quite horrible to watch because Anthony, he was actually a really cool guy. I liked his character, but unfortunately he ended up going on a very dark path. But in my opinion, it was horrible to see this happening to him. There is actually a really cool scene where Anthony is looking in the mirror and he sees Candyman in the reflection, but what he's actually seeing is himself becoming the new Candyman. And straight after this scene, another character was murdered. Now, I can't really remember her name from the top of my head, but she was the one who ended up inviting Anthony over for a chat about the Candyman legacy artwork thing that he was doing. But I was actually disappointed with her death scene because we always saw was like a long camera shot from outside her apartment window, and we do see her being killed from the distance, but you know, there could have been like a really good jump scare scene in that moment. I can remember in the 1992 Candyman, there was a scene where Candyman's hook literally came out through one of the mirrors, and I literally shit my pants when I first saw that scene because, bear in mind, I probably would have been around 6 or 7 years old when I saw the original Candyman, and Candyman was the reason why I was always terrified of mirrors as a kid. Now, there was a really cool scary scene in a lift, which is basically a lift full of mirrors and reflections, and Anthony is listening to some old tapes from Helen with headphones on, and as he's listening, the lift starts to malfunction and it stops suddenly. And as he's ringing the bell to get some help, a piece of candy with a razor blade inside it appears on the floor next to Anthony, and all of a sudden this blood starts dripping on his hand from above him, and he hears some growling. When he looks up, he sees Candyman in the ceiling reflection looking down on him, and then all of a sudden the lights in the lift go out and the whole screen goes to black, but you can hear Candyman's growls the whole time. And I'll be honest with you guys, my heart was pounding during that scene. It was genuinely terrifying, and I think it was probably my favourite scary moment in the whole movie. So by the end of the movie, Anthony literally becomes the new Candyman, and it ends on quite a tragic note where we are shown some awful racist moments coming from the police officers, and it wasn't very nice to watch. However, it does show the importance of what's happening. This sort of thing happens in the world that we live in, so I take my hats off to the writers and the makers of the whole movie for incorporating this into the movie. Now, there is a brutal final load of kills, but I don't really want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen the movie yet, but I did really enjoy the little massacre at the end of the movie, and it's got me wondering whether or not if there will be another movie in the future, because I would actually be very happy to see what happens next. Like, I kind of feel that this movie gave the Candyman legacy a new rebirth. But if they are going to make a new sequel, or 2 sequels, I just hope that they don't make it stupid or silly, and they keep it dark, brutal, and real, and they have a good story for these sequels. So what did I think of this movie as a whole? Well, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I went into this movie completely blind. I had no idea what to expect, but I was pleasantly surprised to have enjoyed it as much as I did. I do wish we had got to see a little bit more of the kills, but I suppose our own imaginations can be a lot more graphic in those kind of scenes. But all in all, it's really not a bad movie at all. It's actually, I was really surprised how much I enjoyed it. Now, is it better than the original? No, it's not. However, this movie does stand alone as its own horror movie, and it's definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it yet. I would say though, if you haven't seen the first Candyman film in a very long time, like myself, I would go back and watch that just to refresh your memory before you go and watch the new one, because like I said, I was getting a little bit confused in parts of the movie and a little bit towards the end. So before I give this movie my rating out of 10, let's head over to the Internet Movie Database and Rotten Tomatoes to see how it's rated over there. So over on the Internet Movie Database, it's got a scoring of 5.9 out of 10, which, I don't know, I can kind of understand, because even though I did enjoy this movie, it's one of those types of horror movies where it is aimed at particular horror fans, in my opinion. There will be horror fans who really enjoy the slasher films, who may have gone in to see this movie thinking it was going to be similar like the Scream movies, or maybe like Friday the 13th, but of course that's not what Candyman is all about. Candyman is a hugely psychological horror film that isn't all about the blood and the guts. I've got a feeling maybe that's what's contributed to this score. Over on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a tomato meter of 85% and an audience score of 72%, which is more like it in my opinion. I actually really agree with the tomato meter score on this film, because this film didn't rely on jump scares or blood and guts. It's just generally great dark horror movie with some dark and disturbing moments, and it stays true to the original Candyman in my opinion. So I am going to personally rate this movie an 8 out of 10 for all of the reasons that I have just said, and I think it's a well-deserved score in my opinion. So that's all of my thoughts on Candyman 2021. Now I want to hear about all of your opinions. Did you guys enjoy this film? What did you think of this version of Candyman? And would you be up for more sequels? Let me know. Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments box below. And guys, there is no wrong or right answers here. Anyone's opinions count on this channel. So guys, get typing. Okay then, well, if you've made it this far into the video, then thank you all for sticking around. Make sure you do smash that subscribe button for all of my new future content that I've got coming up. And if you have any horror movie recommendations that you'd like to see me watch and do a little cheeky review on this channel, then give me all of your suggestions in the comments box below and I will see what I can do. Okay guys, thank you all for watching, stay safe out there, and I'll see you all again very soon.